What up, guys? Mike G with MDG Collections on hand. Today, ladies and gentlemen, just wanted to do a quick video for you guys, as I was just on the highway, and I'm gonna go back to those clips right after I talk to you guys. So left R&R, and the work they did was incredible. Did not hear a single squeak or a single sound, and did not feel anything trembling with the wheel as I was slowing down. When you're putting these cars to brake at a high rate of speed, you know, that's when you know your rotors and everything are up to par and your brakes are up to par. When you don't have that shaking of the wheel and everything, it's just nice and smooth and you don't hear any sound. So the rotors that I had lasted 2 years. They could have been a little abused. I didn't really go to a track or anything like that, but the Brembo brake pads are a little more abrupt. They are a little bit more rough on the rotors because of the material that they're made out of. They have a slight bit of metal in them, and these carbon ceramic brakes may not last as long as the Brembos, but they will be less hard on your rotors. So I'm gonna go to the clips of me on the highway, and you guys can just, you're not in the car, but you can just hear my experiences as I'm talking, as I'm braking, and you can just hear for yourself, no sound, and you can hear me talking and just see how these brakes really work from my experiences and from me explaining it to you guys. So let's go to those clips right now. All right, so on the drive home with these new rotors and brakes on, Genzilla feels amazing. Now, you just barely tap on these power stops and they bring this car almost to an actual halt. What I think is the issue also with my rotors going bad so quickly, I may have been a little heavy on the brakes, you know, stomping on the brake a little too hard, but you really don't have to do that with these cars. You can just barely touch on the brake and it starts to slow this car down. And that's what I would do from now on. I'll just gradually step on it. Right now, as I'm braking, I'm barely stepping on the brakes, and it just kind of brings the car to a halt.
Keep right onto I-95.
Yeah, they work pretty damn good. So I wanted to continue this video, I guess, into the next video where I explain to you guys exactly how great these power stops are. So I just jumped on the highway after leaving R&R, and I left their information in the description portion of the last video that I did. I'll leave it again in this video since we're talking about the brakes and they did the work. So great group over there, father and son, and their work is phenomenal. I can't hear any squeaking or shaking of the wheel, trembling of the wheel when I was slowing down, and that was a pretty great test. Got the car up to about 65, maybe 70 at some points. I wasn't really paying attention. Barely just stepped down on the brakes, trying to preserve my rotors a lot longer this time, so I won't be just stomping on the brake. And I think that really kind of causes an issue with these rotors when you just kind of stomp on the brakes, because there's really no need to. All you kind of got to do is just ease on it. Now, of course, you're in a situation where it's an emergency and you have to slam on brakes. That's different. But I mean, not to say I was just slamming on brakes all the time, but I could have been, now that I'm realizing it, a little bit more easier on the brakes, and it could have saved my rotors. So just words from the wise, and you live and you learn. Now my next goal is to get these rims and my calipers clean, because the brake dust from the Brembos is still on them, and I want that off so I can see how well these power stops do not produce brake dust. But until I get the brake dust off, I won't know. So I got both of my windows cracked, and I got my sunroof cracked also on vent, so you guys can kind of hear this in track mode. And these power stops seem to excel. as we're coming around this curve, what I'll do is I'll get her up to about 70, and then I'll just slightly touch on the brakes. And as we're getting off the ramp where it's a lot more quiet, I'll see if there's any kind of squeaking that I should not have anymore. So just on a straightaway, now that the weather's warm, I will be lowering my tire pressure because it's a little high, and that's because it was colder out. Now it's warmer, so it has inflated the tires a little bit more. So let's see if over here we can get her up a little bit. Let's get her up to about 75. Did try to do that, went over 75, but she gets up in a heartbeat. So as we're about to exit, coming up at 60, just gonna barely tap on these power stops and drops her down. That was pressed all the way down and nothing. No sound, completely silent. Still got her in track mode. Yeah, so far phenomenal. And that is going to do it for this upload on these new power stops. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna be a wrap.